Okay, cameras on for everyone. Vision India Forum welcomes in the Amrit Kal series. Today, the 6th of December, a very important day politically in the country. But yes, today we are here to discuss something very different, but something which is going to drive the country's growth, Viksit Bharat, for 2047. It is about the research and development, innovation, relevance to Make in India and Viksit Bharat. Now, Anusandhan Research Foundation of India has been recently allocated 1 lakh crores, 1 trillion rupee. What is basically behind such a motive or such a step taken by the government? What is the relevance of research and development? Where does India stand globally? Where do we stand as a country? What are the things that we need to do? We've been joined by a host of dignitaries, public sector company, former CMDs, generals of the Indian Army. General K. Rao is there with us. We've got somebody who's been a additional secretary home and also an environmentalist. Somebody who will tell us about something which J.C. Bose worked on, that even plants can feel. Vasudev sir, आपका camera शायद off है. Could you please switch on the camera? We've been joined by Alexander Thomas to take us around the healthcare industry, because he is the founder convener for Association of Healthcare Providers of India. 12,000 hospitals under his banner. Lieutenant General Qasim Himalaya Singh, he is the first Lieutenant General of Northeast. Somebody who has also created, having taken up many important assignments in the Jammu Kashmir region, and now he is also chairman of the board of governors of IIIT Agartala. And IIIT Agartala, the camera is still off. I will have to remove you if you cannot switch it on. And we've also got NIT Silchar with us. Thank you so much for joining all of us, all of you. Now let me start with the opening remarks for research and development and innovation for Make in India. Professor A.G. Iyer, over to you.
Namaskar. I think this is a very important subject, the research and development. I have been, last 20 years pitching for only one issue. That is a country that cannot spend at least 8 to 10% of its worth in R&D is not going to be a country to reckon with. Come whatever we may talk at fourth or fifth big GDP. We have a $4 trillion GDP. We will accept this figure because some people are saying we're not reached there. There are figures which says the infirm economy is 1.5 trillion, and therefore we are only 2.5 trillion. Then there is the other half which announced early that we reached 4 trillion and things like that. But for argument's sake, we accept that we are a 4 trillion GDP. If we are a 4 trillion GDP, then 10% of that is about 4,000 billion totally. 10% of that is 400 billion should be our R&D spend. We should be investing so much in it. And what we are investing literally, even the best company which is investing in the country is BHL even today. BHL spends its turnovers 3% in R&D. And if you overall see, India's GDP to R&D spend is below the 2% range. And that is not going to suffice us. We are slowly becoming a importing and consuming economy than putting things up in the market. I will give you a list of things where, the entire Make in India, Atmanirbhar, all that will be challenging for us. I'll just push a few points here. First point is, if you look at the basic in the power sector itself of the rotating equipment, we have the shafting, the loading shafting, which is basically a forging. So India does not have a single large forging shafting company. And we are probably the third largest producer of steel now. Yet, we do not make it, neither SAIL nor JSW, and none come into making large shaftings. We have come into automobile forgings, but not into power sector or rotating equipment forging, which needs loading of boiler turbine generator, hydro turbine generators, future reversible pump turbine generator. We don't have a great manufacturer there, but even to do that, we need these basic things. And that's where we fail. So I don't want to elaborate what happens with that, because with that, we are never able to deliver any equipment before 36 months, because almost like 18 months, the shafting will take to come to India, and then processing on it and loading on it will take another royal time. So we are not competing with China starting here. Another area is CRGO, cold rolled grain oriented steel. India is a net importer even today. I don't think even 5% of that is come into our capability. And none of the steel companies are making CRGO to the extent that we need for the transformer industry in India, which is going to be a big industry if we are going grid-based delivery of power. We need power transformers. So this CRGO is another component. Now comes silicon in solar. We are predominantly assemblers. We are assembling here modules. We have now 125 gigawatt of, on paper, we have 125 gigawatt, but we operated 50% of that for module manufacturing for solar photovoltaics. But when it comes to cells and wafers, our claimed capacity is about 20 gigawatt, 25 gigawatt, but that works at about 10 to 12 gigawatt or even less. So end result is there is a big mismatch of 100 gigawatt of imports. And what is happening that the government gets a 40% BCD and then 25% for components. This 25% BCD has been done by a manufacturing lobby, resulting in inefficiency. What happens at the end of the day is our own end product is costlier. And even though prices come down, we are squeezing our own. We could be, having solar at just 1 rupee 25 paisa or 2 rupees, but we are selling it at. So these three glaring examples I've given you. Now we know about automotive sector. Recently, China pressed on us on the permanent magnets, and I'm very happy to say that the first permanent magnet establishment in Kerala, with I don't want to name the company, but my friend Mr. K.R. Jodilal and others, they moved, and then the first Kerala. Kerala is a state I look at. Kerala and Andhra Pradesh are the states to look at. And no other states are moving in the direction of either Andhra Pradesh doing mega capacity. So I believe if you want to put R&D, put your money where your mouth is. Like Andhra has announced the, quantum valley computing. Andhra has announced the Hydrogen Valley hub. It's not just a hub. Entire Hydrogen Valley they have announced now. Sorry. And the third part is they want hub and spoke ports which could power and receive energy like LNG. So that is the future, because all this green hydrogen and all being talked about, I'm not very gung-ho about it. I wrote a book on 6th August on this. We must convert as much of blue hydrogen. Blue is equal to green. Capture the carbon and do your job and get below the $1 range. Compressed biogas, we made the report, and what has resulted in 113 plants have come up now. It's not being celebrated by the mass media. From just two plants, Varna Sugar, which was operating 4.5 tons per day, and Rohtak plant, which came recent, Varna is operating 10 years, so that came at about 8 tons per day. It resulted in a revolution in the country. And it is now 113 plants. Reliance wants to build 500 CBG plants in Andhra and 100 in West Bengal, and I think others will come, Adani and everybody will come into this. Basically, compressed biogas and production from agro and hybridized, these animal husbandry waste like cow dung, buffalo dung and all, will result in a major shift. From first LNG will come as a transition fuel, and there will be shift. So we have to save the IC engines. We made a blunder by going towards lithium, because now we are a net importer of lithium. China controlling the whole market, and we are dependent on it. We do not have lithium mines here. So, and therefore, and that what it does, it shifts our economy from the capacity of the IC engines. I believe that electric vehicle can only come via hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle. And that will compete with hydrogen direct combustion, which I say is HDC, because of my past experience as being the chief of MAN. We had put in 1998 hydrogen into our engines and demonstrated the 12V, 4860, 12 gigawatt engines we operated with hydrogen and demonstrated it. The problem is not that IC engines cannot safely you do it. How you handle hydrogen. These are the issues. So if the issue is hydrogen, we should not talk about green, blue and all. We should make as much as blue hydrogen so that we can make it equivalent to green, because carbon capture is the key. There is now a mission finally after all our talk, just like critical minerals is. I did on 7th summit in Hyderabad. Great scientist K. Balasubramaniam was Kalam Saab's understudy at the Hyderabad center, the NFTDC, where he is operating. So a lot of things are happening at my end. I cannot come and say everything in the public domain, but I can assure you that instead of just being in our universities, and I'm stopping here, but India needs to do a lot. It has to spend $400 billion to come to terms with this R&D and make in India. Failing which, we are only importing and talking make in India. This has to stop.
Thank you, Professor Iyer, for the opening remarks. Brilliant as always. Gentlemen, the audience should understand that people like Professor Iyer, who have a global experience of the energy sector, power and the energy sector. Somebody who needs to be taken into confidence by the policy experts, by the policy dispensation, so that the country can benefit and not only talk around the issues of ethanol blending, hydrogen, net zero, environmental protection, etc. Talk of environment. Before I bring in SP Vasudeva, the champion of environmental research, let me quickly bring in my friend Dr. Alexander Thomas. He is having 12,000 hospitals network under him, and now he is somebody who can tell us about how research has impacted India's evolution in the healthcare industry. Over to you, Dr. Alexander Thomas.
Thank you, Amit, and thank you for inviting me for this very unique event. It's an honor to join you, and a theme which is very crucial to India's future, how R&D will drive Make in India innovations and shape Viksit Bharat to 2047. I'm very appreciative of the government, the bold 1 trillion allocation. That's a huge amount of money. 1 trillion allocation to the ARF signal. It actually signals something profound, that our country is no longer content to be a participant in global science, but we are actually preparing to lead it. So when we envision India at 100 years of independence, we see a nation, I think all of you would agree, on 3 pillars: knowledge, innovation, and human well-being. And R&D, as was mentioned earlier, is the force which ties these 3 together. And no sector demonstrates this more than the sector I'm working with, healthcare. So we at healthcare sit at the intersection between economics, technology, human development, and national security. And if India is to become a developed nation, we must become a health secure nation first. I think there is a first step. With strong systems, advanced technologies, and research-driven solutions tailored to the Indian population. So if you look at today's in India, India delivers one of the most complex healthcare workloads, yet we remain one of the youngest and most dynamic nations. All of you will agree that India is one of the most accessible healthcare systems compared to other nations. And any one of you, if you want a super specialist or specialist, he's at the other end of the phone, not like in other developed countries. However, there are new challenges. One is rising non-communicable diseases, aging populations. Many of us are in that area. Climate-sensitive illness, gaps in the workforce and infrastructure, and need for a low-cost, high-impact technology. That is where India is in a good place. We have our Indian Institute of Management, we have our public health institutions, we have hospitals, we have research centers, and all of us should work together. So management science, medical science, and technology science must now actually converge. And I'll give you a little brief on what we have been doing in a small way. My own national roles, as Amit said, I work with the Association of Healthcare Providers. I'm also a founder patron of the Association of National Board Accredited Institutions and the Consortium of Healthcare Organizations. I worked with the government of Karnataka for their public health task force and also headed the Quality Council of India's grading committee. I work in the area of lifestyle medicine. And all this, I also work with Vaya Vikas, a senior citizen initiative. And all this actually demonstrate how leadership can bridge policy, practice, and research. Now, coming to research in healthcare, I think we need to move beyond adoption to Indian innovation. We have for decades been doing a fairly good amount of work, but Make in India requires us to become creators. I think that's very important. We need to become creators, and the government is actually facilitating that. We should not remain users. So to do this, we must, whatever research we do, must improve patient outcome. That is very, very crucial. They must reduce the cost of care. They must strengthen safety and quality and drive evidence-based policy. I think all of you are talking about that. And very importantly, something that we're not very good at the moment, generate intellectual property. This is especially important as we integrate lifestyle medicine, preventive health, and aging science into national practice. Just a brief about lifestyle medicine. If 10% of our population adopt lifestyle medicine practices, we have done some work along with CMC law, we will make a huge saving both in terms of money and also a productive workforce. So our work on healthy aging, particularly, we do a lot of organoid research and with muscles and nutrition. This is the direction India should take, linking biomedical research, clinical application, and public health transformation. So cross-sector collaboration is actually very crucial. India's greatest advantage, and we are wonderfully gifted by God. We have so many human resources in different fields, and our great advantage is our ability to collaborate across domains that traditionally do not meet. I mean, a few years ago, it would have been impossible to talk about health sciences and ISRO collaborating. But my friend, dear senior colleagues, I must tell you that we are in our 4th year of collaboration, the hospitals and with ISRO. And we have actually come up with some good outcomes. We have helped them show how telemedicine works. ISRO actually helped get telemedicine into action. We are working with them on disaster response systems, looking on satellite-enabled epidemiology. We have just coming out by the beginning of next year, an app which will tell we have done 2 pilots in Chennai and Bangalore. So which are the healthcare facilities near a patient, near a citizen's home, and that will be actually released soon. So ISRO's culture of precision, frugality, and mission orientation, they have taught us a lot. In fact, along with ISRO, we came up with some standards for accident and emergency care across the country. And this has actually saved a lot of lives and actually improved morbidity. We also work with the INSTEM. INSTEM is one of the cutting-edge institutes developed by the government of India, which is a frontier license for India's future. So we work with them at the molecular level. We look at human organoid models. When those of you who are not aware, these are cells which act like human cells, and we can do experiments on them instead of actually doing it on humans. We're looking at nutraceutical pathways to help in healthy aging, to keep the population healthy in regenerative biology. And very important, I think translation pipelines are very important. There's no point doing research and leaving it in the lab. So we're looking at translation pipeline from discovery to clinical trial. So I think this is what is going to, science will define the next 25 years of healthcare. We're also doing a lot of research with aging research and lifestyle medicine. This is along with CMC Vellore, with NIMHANS, with the Public Health Foundation of India, etc. And we're looking at longevity science, and I mentioned earlier, regenerative medicine, nutrition, prevention, very crucially. We're looking at digital health and lifestyle medicine. This will allow us to reduce the burden of disease, improve productivity. I keep harping on this. Prevention is better than cure. If you have a healthy population, automatically your productivity will go up. And this will protect families from catastrophic health costs. I think on an average today, because of healthcare, many middle-income groups go into the below poverty line. So our leadership in creating training curriculum reforms where we incorporate all what I just said. And we also are trying to improve the curriculum in undergraduate and postgraduate areas. So to fully leverage this 1 trillion rupee push, I think all of us should create research departments. We're trying to do this in all our hospitals. We're looking at long-term mission-driven grants. And I must say that having worked with the ICMR, it's far easier now to get grants, a very quick process, and this will go a long way in improving research. Traditionally, most of our hospitals till now did not engage in research, but I think with that government encouragement, it will actually do much better. And the fact that we have a huge clinical base, especially in our government hospitals, will help this. So this will build strong clinical trial networks, will strengthen ethical oversight, and as is being done, support startups developing Indian technology. And I just want to mention one technology which is widely used. I'm not sure whether you have heard of it. Devi Shetty and me work together, and he has actually put together a team of about 150 engineers over the last 15 years, which has now developed HIS with the engineers and the clinicians working together. And he's making it available all over the country. So this is an example which actually is going to transform healthcare.
Dr. Thomas, we'll carry on this. Probably, I'll have to bring, because these are opening remarks. Let me quickly, welcome Dr. G. Satheesh Reddy, the chairman of Defense Production at DRDO and Secretary DAE. He is somebody who is credited with a lot of initiatives in the defense sector. And today he is also the advisor to the Defense Minister, Shri Rajnath Singh Ji. Welcome on board, Satheesh Ji. Thank you for joining us today at short notice. Now, today's discussion is around R&D. Today's discussion is around innovation and how it drives Make in India and the Viksit Bharat vision of the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister. Over to you. Dr. Satheesh Reddy, Chairman, former Chairman DRDO, Secretary Defense Production, Government of India.
Very good morning to all the people who are on the panel and all the viewers. Firstly, like to congratulate for organizing this event on Innovation R&D Summit, in particularly in the direction of Make in India and Atmanirbhar Bharat and Viksit Bharat. I will confine myself to defense, particularly in the last 10 to 12 years. The way the things have changed is enormous. It is, I will put it in figures. What was the indigenous content in the armed forces about 10 years back? Less than 30%. Today, the indigenous content in the weapons, equipment of defense equipment, what armed forces possess now is touched about 65% today. That is the level of indigenization, indigenous systems development happening. If you look at the capital procurement, out of the 1.75 lakh crores of capital budget, close to about 1.5 lakh crores is what indigenously produced in the last financial year. That is the way, if you look at out of 1.75 lakh crores, 1.5 lakh crores is the indigenous production. Similarly, when you talk about the target, what has been put now for the year 2025-26 is that should touch 1.75 lakh crores. And the target for 2029 has been kept for as 3 lakh crores. So this is the way the indigenous systems are getting developed in the country. Indigenous production has happened. Indigenous manufacturing has happened. In fact, the exports, which India was earlier looked at, was one of the largest importer of defense equipment. Now we started exporting. Even though we have limited countries to which we can export out of various other reasons, we have exported last financial year 23,666 crores worth of equipment has been exported. A lot of countries, a lot of equipment. Now it is increasing. Now the target kept for by Honorable Raksha Mantri for the year 2029 is 50,000 crores that we should touch in exports of this. I'm sure the way the innovations are happening in the country, the R&D is happening in the country. On the most 4-5 years, these R&D, these innovations will result us in such a way that India becomes one of the leading countries in the defense R&D and defense manufacturing. Look at today, the country is working on in the fighter aircraft take. Already the LCA Mark 1A has been produced, has been developed, and Indian Air Force has placed a large number of order of about 220 aircrafts. It shows the confidence in the indigenous aircrafts. Now, having seen this, the government has already sanctioned LCA Mark 2, which is a heavier version of LCA Mark 1, and also the 5th generation fighter aircraft, advanced medium combat aircraft. So you mean to, when you look at it, and a project government has sanctioned means that the capability within the country exists to develop such a system. The 5th generation fighter aircraft with the 6th generation technologies built into the avionics and whole of control systems and all that is the system what it is coming up now today. Same way, if you see, the country has come out in a very, very quickly in about 1.5 years, a lightweight tank, particularly for the mountain region. Very quickly, is a 25-ton tank, which is an amphibious tank, which has come up in 1 year time, is the record time what has happened in that. So these are the types of developments. The country is working on hypersonics, the country is working on scramjet engine, the country is working on now engines and propulsion for various requirements of the things. Now the and the government R&D organizations and the industry has gone up in a big way. Particularly to see that there are in DRDO today has got centers of excellence in various academic institutes across the country. At least 15 centers of excellence are there, and almost about 400 academic institutes are working with DRDO today with a budget of about 1,200 crores. And these centers are named as DIAs, the DRDO Industry and Academia Centers of Excellence, so that industry is also brought into the academia, where DRDO scientists, the professors work together, and industry is brought to take the technology as soon as it is crossing the TRL level 6 or so. This is one thing which is making, in fact, the country could produce the world's one of the lightest bulletproof jacket by an academic institute in this model in India, which has gone to industry now today. So these are the things which are development happening. On the other side, when you look at it, the IDEX is promoting the innovations in a big way in the country. Large number of startups, maybe at least more than 1,000 startups are working in the defense area, working on various innovations and able to come up. So some of them, if you look at it in the aerospace sector, look at the startup called Bellatrix, one which has launched multiple satellites with electric propulsion, green propulsion, and plasma-based propulsion. One of the first of its kind technologies in the world. And now they are getting orders from elsewhere in the world. They are getting orders from Europe. They are getting orders from Japan and various people. And our country is getting benefited a lot. Look at another startup called Digantara. Digantara is the space-based space surveillance system, which the first order for that particular startup is from American Air Force. American Air Force has given an order to this startup. This is how the startups are coming up, and IDEX is promoting them in a big way. Similarly, the technology development funding from DRDO, which is actually funding any technology development in the startups and the MSMEs in a big way, funding up to 50 crore rupees to each project. There are at least already about 75 projects are, some of them are developed and some of them are getting underdeveloped, coming out with various technologies which are required for the armed forces and security agencies. This is another scheme, 50 crore rupees for each project without any bank guarantees or anything, and things like that. People coming from various incubation centers and academic institutes are utilizing this facility. Similarly, the IDEX also is funding up to 10 crores, 20 crores, 25 crores is the amount of funding which is happening. And the looking at this, there are lots of alternative investment fundings which are come in the country, AIFs, which are promoting these startups in a big way. Over and above this, the government has given a decision that 25% of the R&D budget should be spent on in the industry. So industries are encouraged to come out with R&D in a big way, and ANRF and also the RDI scheme. All these are promoting the R&D in industry, not just in the government organizations, not just in academic institutes. Industry should take up the R&D and should be able to develop the systems on their own for the requirements what they come across is the motive. So with all this, looking at the schemes, the R&D in the country is seeing a quantum jump. That is why actually I use the word quantum jump. Suddenly we can see that there is large number of quantum research startups which have come up in the country. Somebody is working on quantum communication, somebody is working on QRNG, somebody is working on quantum sensor, quantum magnetometer, quantum gravity meter, and somebody has developed some couple of people have developed a quantum computer with multiple qubits. Is something an activity in the most advanced technological area, a spurt in the activity of R&D coming out with the systems we can see. This shows that how R&D is shaping up in the country. So supported by the government's multiple schemes to promote them, and in fact, even support from the private financial institutions which are coming forward to invest into these deep technologies is changing the country's scenario today. This is what I see in the next 2 to 3 years, or maybe 4 to 5 years, the country will emerge as one of the leading R&D hubs in the globe, and we'll be realizing some of the systems what I've already mentioned, which makes the country a leader. This is what my feeling is, and I'm sure I stop it here, as these are all initial remarks. My best wishes
Dr. Reddy, before you leave the show, I have pinned on the screen two top generals, former generals of the Indian Army. The first Lieutenant General of Northeast, Lieutenant General Consam Himalaya Singh.
Very nice to see him.
He and General V.K. Singh, they fought together in the Poonch sector and have been there together for the last 40-50 years. And we've also got Lieutenant General Kamula Rao, who understands what the language that you spoke just now, much more than probably anybody else on this show. He was head of the defense procurement and all those things, manpower planning. So now I will leave it to both of them. Any comments, observations, suggestions to the advisor to the defense minister?
No, I am not advisor to the defense minister now that my term of the defense minister is advisor to defense minister is over. I am part of the National Security Advisory Board now.
Okay, but he's Dr. Reddy is somebody who needs no introduction. General Rao, your comments and observations and suggestions.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Right. Firstly, I must compliment everyone on the panel here that we are focusing, because I retired in 2010 and I'm privy to all earlier thinking. Defense forces have come a long way. When we talked about Nehru time, when we said, do we require defense forces? And from that time, we have come to the present state where we are. And I've been privy to a lot of things that, as far as the R&D is concerned, I certainly agree with totally, because there were days, and I still remember sometime way back in 2001 or so, we looked for a long-range motor. I retired as the Director General of Artillery. Dr. Satheesh, I retired as the Director General of Artillery in 2010. So I remember when we requested for a long-range motor, and it took them about nearly 8 years, nothing has come out. So possibly the focus on R&D on some issues was certainly lacking at a point of time, both as far as money is concerned, and I agree that R&D flourishes based on the leadership. After all, if you go back to what late Dr. Abdul Kalam did, I still remember things like including stents with Dr. Somaraj in health field. R&D has suffered a great deal in the previous decades, and in the past decade or two, I think we are coming a long way. We have realized the importance of R&D, and the only thing I can suggest to Dr. Reddy, with his membership in being a member of the National Security Advisory Board, is that the persuasive skills to carry on with it. At no stage, it is not a one-time pumping of money. And I think this is an ongoing process which has to continue, because without R&D, we cannot progress. We can have the manpower, we can have the intelligence, we can have the resources, but until and unless, I still remember I was also advisor to Bharat Forge before they manufactured the recent gun. And that is the time when I was having a word with Baba Kalyani. And then he talked about after research, will our guns be accepted after our initial trials? I said, look here, that I cannot give you a guarantee. But whenever you do a research, there will be spin-offs. You may not be able to produce the best gun, the best metallurgy. Fortunately, of course, he has done that. Along with the DRDO, I still remember that cooperation, the project which they took on of attacks. And at that point of time, there were hesitations, because private industry always required some money into research and development. And nobody could have really pumped in so much of money on their own without knowing what is going to be the outcome. So that's why I think the government initiative, which has recently started, of giving money for research and development, is a great step. And I'm sure it should carry on. And that's all I can tell Dr. Satheesh about it. I'm sure he's certainly quite very knowledgeable on these issues of research development, which I'm not. I'm only a user. I only use it, keep scribbling. We didn't get this, we didn't get that. But I'm sure he will be able to carry on with it. Thank you.
Thank you, General. Thank you so much. You are as brilliant as always, Kansam bhai.
Reddy, sorry.
right among the
Yes.
DRDO, armed
User.
forces, and
Absolutely.
of course industry. This is
Um,
this is an important element because it is a national mission. It's a national motive where we all have to go through some of the hiccups and everything, and then only we realize the completely indigenous systems in the country.
I'm in total agreement, sir. I'm in total agreement with you because I've seen the steps. Every time you talk about we would like to import, we did not have enough of confidence. It's both, as you rightly said, synergy is the most appropriate word. As a user also, I should have that confidence on the DRDO and encourage them. At times there have been slip-ups and hiccups here and there, but I'm sure we come a long way. Thank you.
Thank you, General Rao. Lieutenant General Consul Himalaya Singh. Satish ji, General Himalaya Singh is also the chairman and of the board of governors of IIIT Agartala and NIT Silchar. Now, MSMEs
Very good.
and academia, they need to be aligned to the defense research, goals of the nation so that they can contribute. Consul Bhai, what are your suggestions or what are your observations to Satish ji so that your institutions, because army and all you people, all of you know, but you are also now heading top 2 technical institutions of the nation and in the Northeast, which is so sensitive from a border perspective. Your views and suggestions.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Kesh.
Okay. Good afternoon. Such erudite, such personalities that I'm with. I'm very proud, and including my ex-boss, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Kesh. Please, sir.
Since Professor Reddy is, in the panel, if he is listening, the impression I'm answering specifically to your query about the students, in the engineering institutes. My impression that I gather so far is that most of these institutions are generally focusing towards the degree part, not so much on the R&D. And some of the institutions, I don't know, IITs, they have a different standard, but I have interacted with a few triple ITs and few NITs whom I'm associated with. I think if you, as a member of the National Security Advisory Board, can talent hunting in these places, because there are a lot of talents, but basically the focus of the institutions remain the degrees that have to be dished out to the students. This is what I had. I just have one point for Professor Reddy, since you are in a decision-making kind of apparatus. General Rao had mentioned about it, but in every of this production or research or anything, the key area is the leadership of those team leadership and the ecosystem. I think we need to lay a little more focus on the leadership and the ecosystem of these R&D efforts, because finally any good leader produces far more than any kind of input that you may have. So these are the only two things I thought because it was such a wonderful Reddy, Professor Iyer, and Dr. Thomas so far.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I get the point.
Dr. Reddy, just a few points on the Tejas controversy.
Where is the controversy? Where is the controversy? There is no controversy on Tejas. I just said the Indian Air Force has placed 220 aircrafts. 220 aircrafts is something what phenomenal. So that shows the confidence in the indigenous capabilities, indigenous design, indigenous manufacturing capability, everything. And goes on very well. Absolutely is one of the best vehicles.
Dr. Reddy, you should, because this is the show not around defense. This show is around primarily research, development, innovation. You should also, I should also introduce you to, the NRL team, Nirmalika Refinery team, which was created with the first bamboo-based ethanol plant in the world. The entire country should be grateful towards this company's initiative and its management and its team members.
I understand because there are experts from various fields. So I thought everyone will give their own experience in their own field, what R&D is happening. That's how I gave it on the defense.
And
But
also,
I can
Mr.
talk about so many innovations which are coming out in the health, how the health equipment is getting produced in the country, so much of things which are coming up in the health-related equipment, devices in the country, so many startups which have come up and the way it is happening. Similarly, in the rural areas, agriculture and related technologies, the innovations which are coming up, which I'm personally experiencing, are tremendous. What you can see is, in every field, construction, tunnel boring, and tunnels making, and the roads making, the way the country is making one of the world records, the number of meters you are able to make today in that, the way you are able to construct 45 days, 7 floor rate, 1,30,000 square feet building construction and occupying that building in 45 days. These are all innovations in various fields which are happening in the country, which I didn't want to talk so much. The way the innovations have come in COVID, the R&D has happened so fast in COVID, coming out with ventilators, coming out with oxygen plants, coming out with 2DG medicine, coming out with vaccines. These are all shows the way the country has responded in that period, and the way the fast turner R&D and coming out with various technologies and various products.
We've also got, before you leave, this gentleman called Rajendra Khajanchi ji. He's the senior most panelist and is somebody who's been credited with turning around Bhutan, a country which the Prime Minister recently visited. And there is so much to look forward to in terms of collaboration in the energy space, especially, and infrastructure space with Bhutan. Rajendra Khajanchi ji, are you there with us?
Amit, I think your, video and audio gets clipped off many times. Please check that.
Okay. Khajanchi sir,
Yes.
he is there with us, the senior most panelist.
Here. You would like me to talk now?
Yes, please.
Okay. See, I come from hydropower sector. And that wasn't my only profession, but something like an obsession. I would like to be just telling everybody, reminding in fact everybody that we now are at the 5th rank in the economy, with naturally US at the top, followed by China, Germany, Japan, and our number is 5, at about 4 trillion. And for us to be going ahead, to take a senior position now, move to 4th rank, 3rd rank, we need to be having a lot of hydropower and energy as a whole. And what I see now, if you see today's installed capacity of electricity in our country is around 500 gigawatts, compared to 1200 of USA and 3750 of China, which is our population, almost same population. Perhaps we are now 2 to 3% more, but compared to 500 gigawatts, there are 3750. We are picking up all right, but what I want to tell in this forum is this 500, when we want to make it 2,500, not reach China's level. When we come to 2,500, what would be the requirement of hydropower in this mix? Right now, if you see, in a total of 500 gigawatts, hydropower is in the range of 50 to 55 gigawatts. That is just 10%. I will not like to be now contesting that why only 10, it should be more. No, I'll only compare it with other countries like China and USA who have the better installed capacity and a proportion of that, what would be the hydropower. Talking about USA, they are right now as 1200 gigawatts and their hydro is almost 1100 something. 100 and maybe 7-8 gigawatts. That is again about 10%. We go to China, 3,750 gigawatts total. Hydropower is 440 gigawatts. So about, again, maybe about 12%. So when we add 2,000 megawatts, 2,000 gigawatts, maybe by, I'll not be that ambitious, okay, maybe by 2035. What is the total we need? Against 2000, we'll need again 10%, that is 200. 200 of hydropower, where from that will come? Right now, our potential is estimated at 150, which can be slightly more also, 150 gigawatts. 50 is already achieved, 100 is left. So we have 100 available with us. Then we have very good neighbors, friendly neighbors, Nepal and Bhutan, where again, Nepal is in the range of about 80 to 85 gigawatts potential, and Bhutan is something like 35 to 40. That means two countries, two neighbors who will be only exporting the surplus to us will be able to contribute at least about 50 gigawatts to us. Our own 150 still will be falling short for the 10% target in 2000 gigawatts. And what I want to tell you, all my life, I have worked almost 58 years in hydropower industry. And believe me, gentlemen, when we talk of the research and development, on the name of research and development, there is hardly any expenditure and hardly any budget available. With all our leading hydropower companies, public sector companies, NSPC, SJVNL, Terry Development Corporation, even NTPC, hardly anything on this. And then full government departments like Central Water Commission for Hydro, the hydro part, and Central Electricity Authority. In Central Water Commission, we have a full-fledged research and design and research. There also research, perhaps, I'm not very sure, the budget is too low to be having something concrete coming out from there. So my only suggestion through this forum to the government would be to please have these corporations, NHPC, SJVNL, Terry Development Corporation, they have very good professionals, youngsters joining, but proper program and budget to be provided so that our investigations are very difficult. Remote areas, mountainous, inaccessible areas, investigation, methodology, a research on that. Construction equipment, especially for tunneling and also dam construction. We need a lot of innovation. And as Professor Ayer also mentioned about the BHL's capacity, and they are having about a 3% budget for research and development. There also, we need for electromechanical and hydromechanical equipment, lot of research through the established organizations. Only that they have to be provided with budget and solid proposals for doing it. Thank you. That is all I have to say about my.
Rajesh Saab, it is an honor to have people like you amidst us. And it's an honor for the audience to listen to people like you, because you bring with yourself a wealth of experience, unprecedented, unparalleled wealth of experience, which the government today, especially the PMO driving the energy space, Tarun Kapoor and others, should be taking very seriously and sincerely, especially considering your experience in Bhutan and the way the Prime Minister has made it very clear that the world's most environment friendly country and our negative carbon country like Bhutan should be learned from, and India should collaborate as much as possible. But I will not stretch myself further. 20 more minutes on the show today. Quickly, let me bring in Vakluji. But before Vakluji and Shishtipal Vasudev, Vasudevji is an expert in the field of environment, in the field of disaster management. So before I bring in Vakluji, who is a telecom genius, Mr. Professor Iyer, Satheesh Reddy ji is still with us. If you have some points that you would like to share to him, but very, very short and brief.
Yeah, see, I think, I have a very clear view on Tejas. Tejas is a very successful Indian work spreading over years. And the only point is, when we shelved the Kaveri engine first, and then after so much of our writing from my Defense and Marine Biz magazine, we produced stories, wrote to the Defense Ministry. I'm happy it has come back. So I'm saying, let us at least communicate now that the G404 engines, they have come just now as an intermediate, and that we are going to develop our own engines. Because otherwise, the component, including avionics, is about 60%. So this is my fervent appeal to Reddy sir, that trust our Kaveri engine business and let us push it forward even more faster. Right now, the licensing has gone to Godrej, and I think L&T is also involved. But I think we need few more parties in it. Let us get about 4 or 5 parties who can make, so that almost entire 400 planes we can manufacture here in India, either by virtue of absorbing technology or by virtue of sharing the platform. This is where I think we are all on a common platform on this. I believe that the Indian engine experiment has to go beyond experimentation, must go to commercialization.
Okay,
and that's where we made the blunder.
Just like to mention
that's where we made the blunder. We first shelved it, and then after our writing, I can openly tell you, I wrote so many letters, including published articles, resulted in the return of that whole thing. But it was too late. We have ordered G404 engines, and we will take for AMCA, we'll go 414 and beyond. So let's not look at this only G. See, I know the whole thing. I don't want to say beyond this. I know too much about it, and should not be knowing that. But I know too much about it.
Sir, thank you for the brief remarks. We are not going to be engaging in a one-on-one or a detailed discussion around any particular topic on this. Now, let me bring in two former CMDs.
Just 1 second, having made, I like to mention to him that we can have a separate discussion on this. I need to inform you certain things. Probably, I appreciate the amount of knowledge what you have. I definitely have regards for it, but I need to convey certain things to you, I think. And as far as the Kaveri dry engine is concerned, it's already completely tested. And once the UCAV program comes, the Kaveri dry engine is ready to get into it. Is the status now today. Regarding 404 and all that, I think when we can have one-on-one discussion. And thank you. My best wishes to the conference, and I leave now. I have another meeting. Thank you.
Yes, Reddy sir, thank you so much. We never expected a so succinct fast reply from you. But as always, Dr. Satheesh Reddy for you, gentlemen. Now, let me quickly bring in Vimal Vakluji and also AK Jainji, Akhilesh Kumar Jain, both of my friends from the former CMDs of the public sector companies, TCIL, and a leader in the solar space, REIL. Together, who would like to go first? Vakluji, I'm sure, because you've been waiting for a long time, request you, because you are an avid reader, writer, traveler, and a person who has a wide world view of various initiatives and research development. You wrote an article recently which was so well accepted and received by the audience in general about private sector's participation in taking advantage of this 1 lakh crore fund, which has now come into the picture, with Anusandhan Research Foundation being given the charge, which was earlier known as Science Engineering Research Board. And then we will also have a brief from Akhilesh Kumar Jain. 15 more minutes into the show. Closing remarks from the champion of environment, because this show has to celebrate the world's first bamboo-based ethanol plant, Numaligarh Refinery. Congrats to you being given the Navaratna status just 3 days back. Congratulations to Numaligarh Refinery. Now let me quickly bring in Vimal Wakluji. Over to you, sir.
Namaskar. Thank you very much, Amit. It was quite a learning experience listening to all the speakers before me. Of course, there is no doubt that in the recent years, there is a lot of emphasis being on research and development and innovation. Well, so far innovation is concerned, I stress it in every forum that Indians traditionally have been great at innovation. And when I say Indians traditionally, I mean, say, before we became slaves. And after becoming slaves, we were taught that the only task is you get educated, look for a job, and that too a government job because it's safe. So innovation went to dogs. So, and after independence, unfortunately, we did pay a lot of lip service to, R&D innovation, but not much was done. Talking about, but the recent, an announcement by the Prime Minister, wherein on 3rd November, he declared that we are going to have this RDI scheme. This is a big door opening for the private sector participation in the country. The public sector, I have been with the public sector also. Yes, a lot of, money has been pumped in doing research and development. I'll come to that also. But now for private sector to assure them that they can go and experiment and the heavens are not going to fall. It's going to unleash, an infinite potential among the Indians once again. I'm sure about that. Of course, there is a possibility that some, undesirable elements who always take benefit of all schemes might jump in, pocket the money, find some ways out, and then get all their, dues, cleared by the politician friends. That also is possible. But at present, I'll say that this scheme is one of the best schemes I have seen in my entire career. No such attempt has been made in the past. Now, coming to, because the time is limited, coming to what my previous speakers have mentioned, there was a mention about DRDO working on number of areas. I remember, about 22 years back, VRDE, which is a subset of DRDO in Ahmednagar, was working on a project of unmanned vehicle. So this unmanned vehicle was supposed to operate in difficult terrain conditions. So they called me for working on the communication system. They wanted a 4G system those days when there was no 4G at that particular point of time, to work on that. Finally, after nearly 2 years, that was in 2005, when this vehicle was ready, everybody was excited. Some people from DRDO, from Delhi, came and literally made fun of it. They said, where is the need? We can always get such vehicles from maybe China. I mean, he didn't say China, but he meant indirectly. There are our, neighbors are making such vehicles. Where is the need for us? And I could see the disappointment on the face of everybody over there, including me. I was shocked. Then have I wasted my 2 years of contribution towards DRDO, wherein I even came from Northeast number of times when I was posted there. So these are the things which tell us that political leadership really matters. There was a mention by General Rao also about Baba Kalyani. I heard Baba Kalyani recently, maybe last month, in one of the events, and I was really surprised by what all he mentioned. He is a person who actually wanted to do a lot of R&D and indigenization of equipment. But what happened that all the time he faced discouragement. And finally, he did manage to get his product approved. But before that, he had to go to US for testing.
Yeah.
This is a disgrace for the country.
Yes, very
He had to go
disgraceful.
to USA for testing because the Indian army was not ready to let him
Yes.
do the testing over here. So such things have happened here. It's all because maybe vested interests of the politicians. They didn't want indigenous equipment to be done here. They have been discouraging, as was mentioned, that even the question whether we should have an army or not after independence, these questions were raised. So let's be honest, we have not been honest with what all we have been doing. So Dr. Alexander mentioned about the development in the domain of health sector. Telemedicine. Telemedicine is not a new concept. Of course, it was started in the West, but it was Dr. Kalam from India who first took this concept to the whole of Africa. We established that telemedicine network called Pan-Africa E-Network between India and Africa. And everybody was jealous, even the Western nations, how all this could happen. That is because of the indigenous component. The people from Canada came to do research, how they failed and we succeeded. So we have to keep these things in mind. And, another aspect of it is that whether it's a domain of health, whether it's a domain of education, whether it's a domain of agriculture, we have been copying the West. And we feel that just by copying the West, if they're investing some money into that, in that particular track, we should follow the same track and race with them. No, we should not do that. Ayurveda and naturopathy have been our traditional domains. Kerala, it's still a fountainhead of Ayurveda and naturopathy. We should also try to help them expand into the country. There's nothing wrong. Why should we follow one particular system? I don't discard that system. It is great. But why not our own indigenous system and encourage them? Similarly, we have been talking about, these lithium-based EV being followed. We should also check when did this all start and why we didn't follow the hydrogen path, although there was a talk about it earlier. That also will lead us to some interesting things. Similarly, Rajendra Khazanchi ji has mentioned about the hydel power. One of the things he mentioned here is that our capacity is limited. Our potential is limited. Why was the potential limited? We put, shackles on ourselves by signing Indus Water Treaty. Who signed that treaty? And why did we sign that? And now we are just doing some breast beating about it. So these are challenges which we need to address. We need to look back also. That's very important, where we have committed mistakes. And I think the future is really bright. Because if we go by what all sectors are getting covered with the new policy, with it practically enters every domain, whether it is defense, agriculture, health, energy, electronics, and digital India. So there is a lot of bright future ahead of us. Thank you very much.
Amit, I'll just take 1 minute only to add on, please.
Yes, yes.
But there's a small little correction I would like to just think that the ranges were not allotted by Indian Army because I was myself advisor to Bharat Forge for some time. They're in the domain of Ministry of Defense. The reasons why they're not Indian Army does not get involved in it. But yes, I entirely agree. It's a very sad state when we have to take the gun abroad for testing. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, from the horse's mouth. Anyways, now let me quickly bring in AK Jain, Akhilesh Kumar Jain ji. He is the former CMD of REIL, a pioneer in the field of solar energy, and also talk about Kalam and political support. I think he is privy to both of them during his tenure as the CMD and before that, and also talk to us about the issues with respect to the IP and the patent rights and all, because this is one area, the commercialization of research is something which really needs a lot of fillip in this country, lagging behind quite considerably. Over to you, AK Jain.
Thank you, Amitji. In fact, I couldn't join in the first half an hour, so I really missed an opportunity to listen to Sapitroda if he was here. But I thank you, Amit, to organize such a session, which is very much needed, particularly at a time when Government of India has announced such a big R&D and innovation.
Request my guests to be there for another 10-15 minutes. We'll close the show, and please do not leave in between now.
So I'll share one example of real and CSIR series laboratory that was year 2007-8 when we were working with the Danish collaborator. And there was a challenge when collaborator was not listening to our terms, because the Indian market as compared to entire European, even the world market in the area of dairy sector was much, much big, because India happens to be the world's largest milk producers, and that too from the marginal milk producers. That's a network of some 400,000 centers across the country. So electronics was required for those centers. So we were closely working with a Danish collaborator, but he was not agreeing to bring the price down to our estimates. So we closely worked with the CSIR Siri laboratory, and I'm happy to share with you that in a span of just 12 months, we could launch an instrument which was just one third of the price of whatever we were getting from Danish collaborator. The second, it used to address all those adulterants which were spoiling the milk, which was reaching to us for a human consumption. So that was the right product to the right country at a much better price. So why I quoted this example? See, our laboratory has people, has knowledge, has scientists. They lack in terms of facilities. They lack in terms of testing infrastructure, where they can say that, yes, we have developed a product which is of global standards. And you rightly said, there is a lack of, patent related awareness earlier, but now it is very predominant. So, but those days it was very difficult. You file the patent, you get the patent approved in 7 years, 8 years. And by the time, the innovation has already run its life. So that was one example which I thought I should share just to showcase the capability of Indian laboratories. But I would like to touch upon the solar and the telecom and the EV sector. Solar, which started way before in 80s in India. And I remember when Mr. Rajamani was the secretary DOE, and I was just an engineer, and we visited the Siri Pilani, and we saw a ingot manufacturing at a very, very small level those days. I'm talking of 80s. So though India had everything, But probably, I don't know what's the reason, could be political, could be bureaucratic, but the innovation could not see the day of the light and it couldn't be scaled up for a commercial production. If I touch upon the telecom, yeah, when Sam was there and it was telecom revolution in the country, and most of the PSUs, they were organized to set up the manufacturing lines to manufacture Rex and Max. Incidentally, our Reel also became part of that. And that was a real transformation. The telecom, that the phones were taken to the remote rural areas. And incidentally, it so happened in 85, I visited Germany. So I didn't find the same comfort in country like Germany. Whereas I used to call in India from a village. So, that's a real transformation. And that too, when the entire manufacturing was done in India. So I would say if that era or that style of working would have continued, we would have seen a different telecom transformation in the country. So that's second thing which comes to my mind. The third, 2015, FAME India was announced, the FAME scheme, which was made for to roll out the electric mobility. There also, it's already 10 years, but in India, there is no effort to manufacture batteries. It's only going on the assembling the lithium ion cells, importing those cells from China. So the similar thing is happening in solar. Now, after 85, so 40 years, after 40 years, now a private industry comes like the Sambanis and Adani, they are setting up from crystal to module manufacturing line. And there's another challenge, how we'll get the new technologies. There are HGT, there are ferrosky, there are many more technologies, but there is no research on that. So just to sum up, these are the few areas, where I have come across through my journey, wherever I have worked. If I'm also connected to now 2, 3 laboratories where I'm RC member and I get a chance to review the innovation, whatever they do. Recently, I have come across that they have the technology for plasma manufacturing. They have already developed LED chips. So there are many more areas. They have also manufactured linear accelerator, completely indigenized, that was done in year 2000. And now countries talking to to install these linear accelerator even at the district level. So now if you would have had this vision in year 2000, probably this entire industry, which is helping to malignancy and other related diseases, could have done in a much better way. So having come across last 40, 45 years, 50 years, I would say, and PM's vision is very clear, and the kind of innovation fund is now created. So my proposal, or what I think appropriate should be done, there should be a clear participation of Indian laboratories. There are many Indian scientists who are now back to the country and they are staying somewhere and doing something a little bit. So those scientists can be engaged by these Indian laboratories, and then industry, laboratory, and of course the fund, that's a concerned ministry. They should work in a collaborative manner, and we should see that whatever money is being utilized for innovation should see the data day of flight in a very systematic manner. At the same time, we should also, wherever we do our own innovation, we should get it patented immediately. Uh, Patent procedures in the country can be expedited. They can come down to maybe a year or so, not more than that, because 7 years is a too long period. But now it has come down to 2.5 years. So these are my words because I have come late. So
Thank
I
you,
can't
Janji.
take more
Janji, thank
time.
you so much. Kenji, thank you so much. These are conversations which can go on and on with your experiences. People like Mr. Waklu, General Rao, Professor Iyer, all of you have experiences which are like I mean they are like ocean of experience that you bring on board. Quickly now, let me bring in SP Vasudeva, former Additional Secretary Home and Environment, PCCF, Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, Himachal, somebody who knows the space of environment, which is being the talk of the town over the last few years. This is something which we all need to learn from him as to what are the areas of research, what are his suggestions of innovation from the environmental perspective, from disaster management perspective, conservation perspective, and also from the wildlife perspective, because research, wildlife, flora, forests, research around forest conservation, very important areas now. When we talk about net zero, at the same time we keep degrading or deforesting our country. It is not possible. Deforestation and development cannot go hand in hand. Then we also have Mr. Shankar Acharya with us. Professor Acharya is an expert in the field of agriculture, the primary source of employment of India. The country cannot survive without agriculture prowess. So before I bring in both of them, let me start with SP Vasudeva. Vasudeva ji, your views on the subjects of research, innovation, and environment conservation, etc.
Thank you, Amitji. Thank you very much. And good afternoon to my co-panelists. And namaskar. They're all elder to me, so namaskar to everybody. See, what we are discussing is R&D in innovations. I'll like to touch RD in innovation and natural resource management, including forest management. See, forests cover about 28% of the land area of the country. Agriculture covers 54%. So together, they cover around more than 80% of the land area. What is the output of agriculture and forest to the national economy? It can be much more than what it is at present. So we have to change our strategy for improved management to bring in improved productivity and economic returns. See, in agriculture and in forestry, we are at number 1, 2, 3. Even in milk production, poultry, we are at 1, 2, 3, number 1, 2, and 3. But the poorest people in our country are farmers, tribals, and people living in this 80% of the area. So this great potential, we are industrializing the country, but till we take these stakeholders into the industrial process, our GDP will not increase to that extent. We must learn from China in this respect. So questions have been raised that the funds for innovation, research and development and innovation are very less. As for agriculture, is much more ahead of other environmental sector, forest, environment and wildlife. They have got set research and development institutes. So they're doing good work in that. The co-panelists will tell more about that. But how to achieve what I'm trying to tell, how to achieve economic efficiency, socio-economic efficiency, and increase productivity so that our GDP rises along with the per capita income, which is very less in our country. So we must, in research and development, adopt digital and precise technologies that are not being used at present. Drones, AI sensors, Internet of Things. Agriculture cooperative sector and in forest, we are much behind in adopting Internet of Things. Sustainable resource management. There is no action on sustaining the resource management. Mechanization. We should have electrical vehicles, robotics in planting as well as logging. Biotechnology, we are too far back in biotechnology. But this area of innovation must be based on integration. We must integrate. Defense is the sector which has integrated government, private, and other core sectors into the production process. Other fields, agriculture and forest, are much behind on this. Collaboration, public-private partnership has got a lot of potential. We have to bring in more in natural resource, including agriculture. Knowledge management, there is no knowledge management. Just it goes on. And stakeholder based. Our research and development must be farmer centric, must be tribal centric, must be people centric. Only then we will be able to improve our GDP and per capita income. And this must lead to improved economic opportunities, including employment. It must attack markets. It must be based on climate action and environmental balance. We take these into account and integrate all what we are doing with the sustainable development goals, which are going to be monitored at least up to 2030. I think with all these measures, we will be able to move forward, not only in R&D innovation, but socio-economic development and economic empowerment of our communities in our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Vasudevaji. I think you directly, indirectly touched upon the subject of striking a balance between development and sustainability, because that is where most of the controversies today from the environmental perspectives are sprouting left, right, and center. Be it the private, be it the public companies, they are all responsible towards sustainable growth, kind of coexistence, something which is a big question mark on the nation's vision when we talk about Viksit Bharat. Finally, let me bring in the man who knows agriculture, research, agriculture, farmers' welfare, country's economy, sustainability, sustenance. These are all inextricably linked. Over to you, Professor Shankar Acharya.
A very good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, very much.
Okay. Thank you, Amit, for inviting me to share my experiences in terms of agriculture R&D, and especially I had to handle with the higher education system in agriculture university more than 37 years. So my observation is that, my humble suggestion is that I will be a quick mover through the entire scenario. India is having 143 million hectares of the land under agriculture, of which 80 million plus will be under rain-fed condition. Rest will be under irrigated agro-ecosystem. So we can say that for this 65 million hectare plus will be a dedicated water supply. And while the other more than 80, there will be close to 80, there we have to depend on that natural system or open air agriculture based on the rainfall and so on. So that is how we need to produce 550 million tons of food grain by 2050. Right now, we are producing 350 million tons of food grains. You just see what is the Herculean task ahead. But as an agricultural scientist and teacher in this area, I think that this is achievable. This is achievable. Second thing is that our concern one is that our per capita available to land is squeezing. During independence, we have got something around 2.5 hectare. Now it has slashed down to 0.77 hectare. At the time, now population will surpass 150 crores. By 2050, India's population will be 162 crores. So we have to feed this humongous population. That is really, really a task. And we have to do it when per capita availability of groundwater during 1950, it was 5,662 cubic meter per capita. Right now, it has slashed down to 1,200 cubic meter per capita. You just see, this is the situation. So water crisis is going to be a very Herculean task, and it will be a very pernicious challenge to us. Second thing is that the erosion of the soil per hectare per year, we are losing 15 tons of topsoil. You just multiplied it 143 million hectares of the land due to the wrong mechanization of agriculture and non-caring of our stoic attitude towards the soil. That is creating another challenges. Soil will look like soil, but there won't be a handful of grain. Things may be so happen if we are not sensible enough. Organic carbon is the basic material which keeps and makes soil alive and makes our food possible. 67% plus lands in Indian agriculture, they are passing through under starvation of organic carbon. So these are the situation. If agriculture fails, everything will fail. Everything. We need food. Food is one, food is second, food is third. If there is no food, there is no question of anything electronics or so. It is not necessary to mention. Another important thing is that agriculture is drawing 80% of the groundwater. I can give an example that while China is producing 500 plus million tons of food grains, they are just consuming only 250 billion cubic meter of the groundwater, while we are producing 350 million tons of food grain, but we are consuming more than 500 billion cubic meter of the water. So water use efficiency must be enhanced. Otherwise, there won't be a crisis not only for agriculture. Drinking water will be, an issue, unsurmountable issue. So what we need to do? First one is that we have to keep focusing on what you call your fragmented holding, small holding. Our farmers count is 40 crores, 14 crores of farmers are there. 21 millions of holdings. So close to 40 crores of farmers are there. Mostly they are private food producers. They are the private entrepreneurs rather, but they are mostly unorganized. At the same time, these 40 crores of farmers, they are suffering from n number of uncertainty. Weather is uncertain, climate is uncertain, to some extent, market is also uncertain. Government is doing a good many things, but I think it is not sufficient. Why our farmers, this is my submission to Honorable Prime Minister through this conference, why our farmers don't access monthly income? We have to provide equal monthly income for the farmers. They can't wait for 3-4 months till the crop matures and harvest, because they are providing every half an hour food to us. The farmers who are providing every 1 hour food to us, why should they wait for 3-4 months till the crop harvest? We have to devise a mechanism whereby we can provide monthly income to the farmers. Once in an annual,
Professor
yes.
Acharya,
Yes.
we will not delve into the area of the agriculture centric issues, but more towards the agriculture related research and innovation issues, which you were speaking before that. And I will really now have to close the show. You are absolutely right. When you talk about water efficiency increasing or enhancement of the water efficiency.
Can you mention two more points, just 2 more points? I think that millet has got a tremendous prospect. And another is that, AI-driven precision agriculture. And third is that vegetables and organic farming. And of course, we are having farmers, producers organization coming up. There is a really new hope, valley of hope will be there. We have to develop network researches by combining ISRO, IIT, ISER, and All India Institute of Medical Sciences across India.
Absolutely right. Professor Shankaracharya, I think you took us towards a very logical ending to this discussion today. Before I end, I will ask all my visitors to point out one single area of innovation which they think will transform the nation towards a brighter future. But, yes, water for me is a very crucial area. China, for example, when we talk about ethanol and we talk about using rice for the purpose of production or sugarcane, the kind of water consumed is almost 5 to 7 times or almost 10 times that is being consumed in China. I mean, and we are for the last 40 years seeing this scenario. China has brought down its consumption per liter or per kilogram of such food grains to 1/5 or 1/6 of that in India. We also have these development issues of data centers, GCCs. Now, data centers, for example, they are the biggest consumers of water. And, the cities will be in a mess. Even the urban population will be in a mess if these data centers start consuming water the way they are. Closing remarks. Let me start with Professor A.G. Iyer. Sir, your closing remarks with respect to one innovation that will transform the nation.
See, taking from what it is, one discussion has not come in here, and that is the critical minerals. Hydrogen and critical minerals for me is the future. And you probably missed the mentioning the CBG revolution, compressed biogas. It is bigger than the ethanol revolution. So if we can touch these, because that will enable the farm sector make currency. So I am saying circular economy, you focus on it. Very rightly said the per capita consumption, like data center you said. We need guzzling energy. We need hundreds of megawatts for data center, between 100 to 300 megawatt average for a single data center. So what will happen? So we need to produce a lot of energy. We need to be energy efficient, and we need to also ensure that our water intensity comes down, energy intensity comes down. So these are my fundamental point. But don't miss, just say the way you're doing farming, you need to do critical mining. And we are all population living on top. We have 1/3 of the land mass that China has. People are living on it. So we need to find a way to involve our community. That means our farmers and our common people should be engaged in the development. If the government is not able to make this plan, whatever we are talking here will not translate into ground reality.
Yes, Professor, I fully agree with you. India has a long way to go. Yes, there's a lot of talk and we're already ahead with respect to most in terms of critical mineral and energy issues. But yes, as far as trading or walking the talk is concerned, probably we are yet to start. Anyways, let me quickly bring in Mr. Vimal Waklu, former CMD TCIL. Sir, your remarks.
Well, I want to say that there was a mention about the use of technology in agriculture. While I fully agree with Satheesh ji, Mr.
Shankaracharya.
Yeah, on it was used by Mr. Vasudev earlier that IoT for agriculture and other things. That is there, and of course, Professor Acharya also has used that. But the basic thing is that because I am a technology person, I support all that. But the basic thing is that we need to switch back to our ancient method of organic and natural farming, which consumes much lesser water as compared to and the soil destruction, which soil erosion, which Professor Acharya talked about. The chemicals have destroyed the soil in Punjab, UP, everywhere. I've seen it practically. This poses a problem in having crops in a perennial fashion, and people are feeling helpless because we are subsidizing chemical fertilizers. We are not, supporting farmers who want to switch over to organic or natural farming. This is where we need to, because as rightly pointed out, food is the basic starting point. And if we don't correct this, we don't have a very bright future. Let us not copy China and other people. Let's see what we were doing previously and try to fine tune that. And I'm sure we'll be able to find a solution from the natural and organic farming. This is what I want to say. And I think we are on the right track when it comes to R&D and innovation in the private sector. Now onwards. Thank you.
I think we would have loved to have people from ICAR also with us, because they were also invited. The former secretary Thiruchan Mahapatra and the current secretary, they were all invited. Anyways, Lieutenant General K. Rao, sir, your suggestions, probably from a defense perspective.
Yeah, firstly, let me say that in defense forces, we have a good system of innovations. We have a training command which really takes care of innovations. So we are quite, the funds expenditure for innovations is also quite good. But innovations are best can come about by the user. At the same time, until unless the user understands the technology, he'll not be able to think. So the only suggestion I can give as far as armed forces and innovations are concerned is a little more intricate or close interaction is required between the research people once in a while with the user at a ground level, because innovations come about by the user fraternity. So I think the only suggestion I can give about is that a little more interaction between the research people and the user will bring about more innovations. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Akhilesh Kumar Jainji, MD, CMD, REIL.
So I would say that, yeah, keeping agriculture in center and farmers, of course, because they are largely the community which are helping agriculture. And more ethical ways, let's get away with all this, urea and all. Let's do the organic farming. So instead of working on the quantities, let's work on the quality. It should be a qualitative produce. And what farmer does, whatever he whatever good he produce, he consumes himself. Whatever bad he produce, he sells. So let's align our innovation in that direction. Farmers are made more ethical over a period. I think they have probably would have suffered a lot, or would have got lot many subsidies, or they have a habit of that. So we need to bring them in the mainstream and tell them to become completely an integral part of this entire ecosystem. So I think that would take the innovation the right path.
I think we can keep innovating, but anyways, we are ending more towards reinforcing the fact that India was, is, and will stay and will do better. If it takes pride in it being an agriculture economy. Over to you, SP Vasudevaji.
Focusing on research and development, the research and development, innovative based research and development should be stakeholder based, integrated, collaborative, and knowledge management based research and development should be done in the country. Like in defense forces, they cater to the need of soldiers, they cater to the need of what army needs. Similarly, in other sectors, it should be, the research and development should be stakeholder based, and it must lead to sustainable economic, socio-economic development of the country. Thank you.
Wonderfully put. Ending on the farmer's note, India has all the right-minded people.
And Amit, I am a farmer these days after retirement, spending 10 days a month in my farmland, doing and teaching farmers what water management should be, what efficient water management should be, and what organic use of organic material should be used in agriculture management.
These are all core areas. These are all core areas which you people have put across, including Professor Acharya towards the end of the show.
Can I mention 2-3 points just mentioning?
Please fast, please.
One is that we need to R&D on agri-food ecosystem. That is the solution. Second is that food therapeutics are coming up very fast through genetic engineering. Third is that my mind hit with the idea that why don't you go for producing food for our Jawans who are fighting for us, the energy-packed and protein-rich food, especially for the defense people. And millet will be there as a savior because 1 kg of millet needs 400 liters of water, while 1 kilo of rice needs 4,000 liters of the water. And every time we have to transform our farmers into food producer to climate manager. 1 degree Celsius change in night temperature means 20% yield losses for wheat and 12% for rices. So that is how one is aromatic rice is coming up with huge promises, and therapeutic agriculture will be coming up, and the planet destination will be India. India can feed more than half of the world's population, and that is going to happen. While we are exporting 1 kilogram of the rice, at the same time we are exporting 4,000 liters of the water without price, without cost. So rethink our whole, I think, agricultural engineering and agricultural ecosystem. Else, what would happen that after 10, 15 years, I don't know. I'm really express my concern. Where we will stand, really, that will be. Why India is promising and progressing so much? Because we have got a stable and sustainable agricultural production system. If it is disrupted, everything will be disrupted, no doubt. I hope that that won't be disrupted. We are confident.
Yes, Vaklu
Thank
sir,
you.
Vaklu sir.
I need to interject on one point which I missed for this particular issue. Hydropower, Khazanchi sir mentioned, it is actually our potential is 350 gigawatt. It's not 200 gigawatt because the surveys have not been revised. As per NASA's data, this is available. And we have another 100 to 200 gigawatt capability coming from pump storage. Then hydros are multi-purpose projects. Dam storage projects are very important. This will enable our agriculture intensity water requirement to be fulfilled. I would request that this should also be very important research and development on enabling, I would say, water resources project in a more scientific way, so that displacement and other things can be scientific. Because we cannot go away from feeding our system, especially with enough water needed for industry, agriculture, and all human activity, including data centers, including making semiconductor. That's one point.
Yes, yes. I think Iyer Saab, the Prime Minister has already taken cognizance of the exigency with respect to the water utilization, efficacy of the water treatments, because the Jal Jeevan Mission has been given a mission mode approach now, and the current Minister, C.R. Patil, has been given a clear mandate to ensure that the Jal Jeevan Mission works on a mission mode approach and starts delivering results, because there have been lacunae across all states of the country. And with development, in insight, in terms of technology, in terms of agriculture, in terms of exports, then we have the internal issues like ethanol, blending, etc., which requires such amount of food grains, so much so that the rice, sugarcane prices shot up almost double, and now the exports have been banned, they've come back. But the core issues, even if they are in place, I'll close with the remarks, but before that, Vaklu Saab.
Yeah, while I agree with all that Professor Acharya mentioned, there is one thing, somehow I feel that when it comes to genetically modified foods, I don't think we should venture in those areas, because, the West has a vested interest in that. And I still believe that our traditional food systems have been well researched, and we should not deviate from those. That was the point I
Yes,
wanted.
even the current dispensation is not really much in favor of the GM crops.
Yes.
But any which ways, on a closing note, despite all and everything, from the core and centric and the nuclear aspects, if we talk only about agriculture being in place, implementation, corruption, for example, recently the cases of the procurements of a very important crop, falling into a mess because of man-made disasters, technological disasters, issues like insurance failures, despite the Kisan Yojanas. All these issues are something which are much more important apart from the nuclear and the core issues, because even if the scientists, even if the people on the ground ensure that the core issues are taken care of, there are vested interests, politically and otherwise, without whose support, cooperation, and linear alignment with national interests, the entire effort will go in vain. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.